Hello and welcome. My name is Brigitte Spurgeon, and today we're talking about intermittent fasting. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me. If you just will give me a few moments while I share my screen with you. Bring my PowerPoint up. All right. So at True Health Weight Loss, we use many strategies with our patients to help them lose weight or heal their bodies. Intermittent fasting is just one of our strategies, but boy, is it a powerful strategy and one that serves so many people so well, and also is one that is a long-term solution for maintaining results. So I'm really excited to be going a little deeper into the strategy with you today. But let me start with sharing where really a lot of our patients come from when they enter the clinic, really a place of frustration and struggle, whether it be with their weight, with inflammation, with their health, and feeling in bondage. And maybe you're at one of these places today, feeling in bondage to the scale, to food, to medications, to certain disease states. And sometimes it's just the fear of those things, right? And so we're really proud that, when patients come to us, our goal is not only to help them lose weight, not only to help them reverse disease, but to claim something that we call true health freedom. And so Tara wasn't alone, in her state when she joined our clinic of frustration and bondage. But now, just a few months later, being down 125 pounds, really, taken control back of her health and her body. And now she is able to share with people the true health freedom that she gets to experience every day. And for her, intermittent fasting is a big part of her lifestyle now. So, what is intermittent fasting exactly? It certainly has become a catchy phrase of late when it comes to weight loss or nutrition. And so, let's break it down. So, if we define the word fasting, it is abstaining from calories for a period of time. So, intermittent fasting, it designates an eating window. Normally, that's going to be less than 10 hours for there to be any benefit to it. So 10 hours within a 24-hour period. It can also be to designate a day out of the week or days out of the week where you fast from food or where you lower your calories from compared to the other day. So basically, you're creating diet variability in a sense. You're switching it up for your body. So compared to our normal Western state, right, we've become accustomed in our society to eating 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, plus snacks. So it's not uncommon for someone to eat 3 to 6 times in a day. And what has that created in our bodies and in our culture? It's created this dependence on food, this addiction to food. It's created such inflammation in our body. It's created insulin resistance. So certainly, things like diabetes, obesity are going to come to mind. And when you look at it at a cellular level, like I do, because of my background, it has really worn down the machinery in the body and worn down the receptor sites. So now we're becoming, hormone resistant, insulin resistant, leptin resistant, it goes on and on. So really, it's time for a reset, right? It's time to just give our bodies a break and heal our bodies. Let me go into just some types of intermittent fasting to give a little bit of a better lay of the land. So if we were to categorize this in 4 areas, so you can have a daily window of fasting, or a lot of times the way that my brain works, I call it an eating window. So that could be 8 hours is going to be a really common one. So let's just say when you wake up in the morning, you don't eat anything until 11 a.m. You have the first calories in your body, and then you would have your dinner before 7 p.m. So that will give you 8 hours. And then after that, you're fasting, obviously, through the night until the next day at 11. So that would be be daily window fasting, where you designate times where you open and close your eating window. Also, and I tend to favor this because it's just simpler for me. You can just skip meals. So that would be, intentionally saying, I'm not going to eat breakfast in the morning. I'm going to wait till lunch. But for someone else, that might be skipping dinner. And certainly, in today's culture where we have shift workers and our schedules are all a little bit different. And gosh, then don't let me get into traveling and switching time zones and things like that. But so for simplicity, could just be skipping a meal, and that literally can be breakfast, lunch, or dinner, actually. Then you get alternate day fasting. So that's when you look at your calendar for the week and you designate certain days where you're doing certain fasting practices. So maybe it is every other day you are restricting your calories. Maybe you're saying, okay, I'm eating normal on these days, but then these other days I'm only eating like 500 to 600 calories. So that would be an example. Another example would be to do a 1 meal day on some days. So you just eat normally, let's say on Monday, but then on Tuesday, you say, I'm doing dinner only. So, in the intermittent fasting world, that's called OMAD. It's called 1 meal a day. So, and then you just designate what days you're doing what for the week. And then the 4th example is doing a water fast for up to 24 hours. And so that maybe 1 day a week where you say, okay, on Sundays, that's the day I'm just going to give my body a break and I'm just going to drink water or herbal teas or something for the day. And, honestly, that could even be, I'm just drinking liquids for the day. I'm doing bone broth for the day, or maybe juicing. Where if we're looking at this in a regulating your insulin and your ketones, then the juicing is probably not going to factor into that conversation, actually thinking about it. But actually 24-hour fasting was the way that I discovered intermittent fasting. It was many, many years ago, and intermittent fasting, I don't even think was a thing yet, but I would take 1 day a week or 1 day every other week, and I would just basically cleanse my body and just do I had like a cleanse tonic that I would drink, or just drink water for the day. So why is this beneficial for our body, and why is it recommended? We certainly have had a lot of research come out, supporting the benefits for weight loss, for hormone balancing, or, regulating insulin resistance, decreasing inflammation, and so forth. And so here's the main thing, and I'm actually going to go into a little bit of the science of this in the next slide. But the main thing is it's an opportunity where your body switches which energy source it's using. So we go from like our regular carbohydrate pathway, and the body has no option after 12 plus hours. If it's not getting any food coming in, there's no option but to go and use its body fat reserves for energy. So this is amazing because now we start to diversify our metabolism. We use a different metabolic pathway. So we give that carbohydrate pathway a break and we tap into our body fat stores. Obviously, for many people watching this, that serves us well if we have extra body fat that we want to lose, because now that can support our weight loss goals. But certainly there are other benefits to that. So our body gets a chance to rest. And when it rests, it heals, right? So a big thing is rest for our digestive system and also for our cells. So what happens when we have that period of rest is this also starts to affect our microbiome. And so it's going to support the growth of that beneficial bacteria and restoring balance there, which also ties into this, but it decreases inflammation just in general in our body. Improves our immune system. I should probably tie into that. Also helps with our cellular and genetic repair. And just mentally and emotionally too, it gives our bodies or our minds an opportunity to heal from food addictions and also from cravings. So let's go a little bit more into the science here. And so if there is one benefit that I want you to understand about this, and it really comes down to this, is something called ketogenesis. All right, so that's our word that we're learning today, ketogenesis. What does that mean? That is the production of ketone bodies or ketones from fatty acids. So fatty acids are going to come from our adipose tissue, from our stored fat. Where do you keep your fat in your body? If it's on your stomach or your hips or your thighs or under your arms. So it's going to go and tap into those fat stores, break it down, those fatty acids. And then also, just because I'm getting a little bit scientific here, also the use of certain amino acids. Our ketogenic amino acids are leucine and lysine, which we get in like our chicken, our red meat, or pork as well, actually, which provides energy for us during fasting. So fasting is in the absence of food or the absence of carbohydrates. All right. So simply put, that's your body making ketones. So why are these ketones so important? Well, when we're in regular carbohydrate metabolism, our body's not naturally making those. All right. So now we have an opportunity to make them. And the main thing that this benefits is our brain, because these ketones are able to cross the blood-brain barrier and they provide energy for the brain as well as healing for the brain. So it's like fuel for those brain cells. So now your brain feels energized. You have creativity, clarity, that brain fog goes away. You have memory recall, sharp decision making. You just feel amazing. If you've ever been in ketosis, you notice the effect on your brain. Healing for the brain. So the literature supports, or the research supports how this is beneficial for patients with epilepsy. I've just recently seen some research for autism. And then even things like Alzheimer's dementia and ADD, depression, anxiety. So amazing benefits for the brain. Also, ketones are going to support mitochondrial biogenesis. So that is actually a fancy way of saying it improves your metabolism. But basically, we have mitochondria in our cells. And the more mitochondria we have, the more energy we can make. So think about it. I'm not a calorie person, but maybe just think about it like it's the way that you increase that metabolic rate. So your body's burning more calories. so to speak. Also, these ketone bodies act like antioxidants, so they help combat free radicals and reactive oxygen species, which helps with healing in our body and helps our body just, function optimally. Also, these ketone bodies support preserving muscle mass, which is really important if you are on some kind of restrictive nutrition protocol for weight loss. Because when you have that calorie restriction, when you combine it with intermittent fasting, that's what helps to preserve your muscle mass. And in my opinion, that's important. So that's why I do like to combine those strategies with my patients. So hopefully that makes sense. Word for the day: ketogenesis. So basically, let me kind of maybe explain that a little bit further. So when we eat, that's going to be our fed state. So we're in that fed state for, I don't know, 3 to maybe 5 hours after we eat, because our body has to, mechanically break down that food. We have to digest it, so take it into our digestive tract, stomachs, or breaking the food down. Then the body has to absorb it and assimilate it, right? So we have this 3 to 5 hours of that actual digestion. Then post that, now the body is in an absorptive state where now it's utilizing everything in our body. But normally at about that 12-hour mark post meal, that's when your insulin gets to its lowest point, and your glycogen stores, for example, run out or get lower. And so now your body has, it almost hits a bit of a wall, or gets to a point where it's like, oh, I don't have any of that insulin left to get that sugar into the cells, or I don't have any of that glycogen left to utilize. So now I need something else. So your body has options. It's either going to make you eat food, or you have that breakfast the next morning, or it has to switch its fuel source. And that's when now it will start tapping into fat burning. All right. So fat burning is going to come like minimum around 12 hours post meal. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. But so that's now when your body will start making ketones. That's why I'm a big fan of then skipping that breakfast in the morning, because now your body just is going into pure fat burning, utilizing the adipose tissue. All right, so let's move away from the science a little bit and let's get practical. So some practical benefits of intermittent fasting are, number one, if you're skipping a meal in the morning, or if you're having some days where you're not eating or skipping meals, you get some time back. So let's say every morning you're getting back 15 to 30 minutes. What are you going to do with that time? Well, maybe use that time for exercise or meditation, or maybe you get to increase your sleep for the 24 hours. So take advantage of that time. Don't let it just dissolve into nothingness, right? Use it for something constructive. How many people say, I don't have time to exercise in the morning? Well, if you could use that 15, 20 minutes for exercise, there's your solution. Guess what? It can save you money, because if you're eliminating one meal each day for the whole week, that is that much less food that you have to buy in the grocery store. And there's less thought that you have to put into your meals and into your food. I always just think about, like, in our culture, how much focus and thought and energy goes into our meals. Have you ever been on vacation with family, and at breakfast time, everyone's talking about what they're doing for lunch, and at lunchtime, they're planning where they're eating dinner, right? It's exhausting to me. And so I really think that we should put less thought on our meals. Reduces hunger and cravings. We really have become in bondage to these things in our culture, because we're used to eating so much, and our brain is used to us feeding our body so often. And so it's really amazing to be free from those things. When we switch metabolic pathways, guess what? Those cravings and that perpetual hunger goes away. Also, for someone who loves to travel, including internationally, intermittent fasting makes travel so much easier. It makes the lifestyle simpler when you don't have to, be dependent on 3 meals a day, and just being able to skip a meal, or even a couple of meals, whenever that's convenient. Like literally a lot of times when I travel, when I have a travel day, I'm not going to eat fast food, or I don't want to eat airport food and things like that. So I would rather just skip a couple of meals in the day, or be okay with having an apple in my purse, or maybe just drinking some tea or some coffee. So there are some practical benefits. But here's the question: is intermittent fasting for everyone? No, it's not. And there definitely are some precautions, considerations. Now, that being said, because we supervise all of our patients and we customize for their bodies, I find that I'm with probably about 95% of my patients, I'm able to do intermittent fasting with them. We're able to make it work. And even just, mentioning some of these things I've listed here, I have dealt with a few of these things personally, and I've had periods where I have not done intermittent fasting, and then I've had periods where I've been able to enjoy the benefits of intermittent fasting. So I'll just mention these. So Hashimoto's or thyroid issues, would be something that we have to be careful with. Adrenal fatigue, when you have periods of fasting, that a lot of times can be a stressor on the body. So there are certain situations where we want to make sure certain hormone imbalances are another example of this. You just want to make sure that we're not stressing the body too much to where it's not healthy. So intermittent periods of stress can be healthy and strengthening our body, but we certainly don't want to tip it over to the other side. For intense exercisers, have to take precautions. Certainly if someone is underweight. That being said, my husband he's maybe the low side of healthy weight, and so we have to watch him. He loves to intermittent fast, but there are periods where we do have to be intentional with meal frequency and calories for him. And then certainly someone with eating disorders, that has to be navigated in a very delicate way. But really, at the end of the day, I'm always going to tell you, please, please, please seek clinical supervision. Really, the benefits of clinical supervision are just a peace of mind, stay safe. But then once again, everyone's body is different. And a lot of times, like my patients come in and they don't even know stuff about their body. And so you might need a clinician to look at your history, look at your habits, look at your goals and everything, maybe recommend some testing if needed. I would just say, just always err on the side of being conservative and being safe. So how do we get the best out of intermittent fasting? Well, first, we have to find the strategy that works best for you. Certainly if something's going to make you feel miserable, or you really have maybe have a hard time going 24 hours without food for, something like that, you just got to find what works for you. Once again, I do recommend working with a clinician or practitioner to help customize for what truly fits your body, your physiology, your lifestyle. Eating clean and nutrient-dense foods. Really, to me, this is paramount, because if you're doing intermittent fasting, let's say, for example, to decrease inflammation in your body, but then in your eating window, you're eating inflammatory foods, well, now that's counterproductive, right? And I believe this is probably the biggest mistake that people make when they start doing intermittent fasting, is they don't realize that they are doing things that then are counterproductive, like they are negating the benefits of intermittent fasting. So that can be very easily done. Hydrating your body is important, especially, outside of your eating window. I think another thing that people get wrong is that they don't understand what clean intermittent fasting is, and they can think that they're intermittent fasting, but really maybe they're taking in liquid calories, or maybe they're doing like artificial sweeteners or something, and they're doing something that's really not getting them into ketosis. Sleep is important. We really, we have to operate our body from a rested place. If we don't have that foundation, then it's not going to be optimal. Same thing with nervous system. That's why I put get adjusted down here. If there is interference in the nervous system, then your body's not going to assimilate your food properly, or your hormones could be out of whack, things like that. So really just keeping that nervous system clear, getting that checked. And I like, my rule of thumb is to get adjusted at least once a week, and then keeping a positive mindset. That too also is one of those foundational things. If we're negative, if we're skeptical, if we're fearful, if we're angry, gosh, even can be if we're in a state of grief, that is counterproductive for us. So we have to keep a strong, positive, expectant mindset. So that concludes what I have to share with you today. In our community, our goal is to support you on your health journey. And so please feel free to post any comments, questions, and really just in general, asking for support in this group so that we can meet those needs. Also, if you need specific help, please feel free to reach out to myself, to Dr. Bagwell, to our clinic, True Health. We are here to give you solutions and customize your journey, and give you that clinical supervision and support that you need along the way. So with that, thank you again so much for your time today, for investing this time into yourself. And I hope that you've been able to learn some things today, and at the very least that this opens up a conversation and opens up a path for you to support your body in the best way possible. Have a wonderful day.